Are you considering attending college but can't comprehend how you'll financially handle this huge expense? Maybe you're thinking of joining the military so you can get help with school. Or maybe you have to postpone college so you can work until you can afford to go sometime in the future. Hello, my name is Jacob Frank, and I would like to talk to you about whether or not state colleges should be free to attend or not. I'll be talking with you about why I think the government should help in paying college tuition for Americans. There needs to be a more realistic and feasible option for people who are trying to better themselves through education. People who just want to work hard and learn will most likely make a positive influence on the world. So the government should be doing all they can do to make sure they put any barriers stopping them from going to college. You may or may not have parents who can help you out with the cost, but should they have to pay for your education anyway? Especially when they may even still be paying off their own college debt. How in the world does our society expect to have doctors, lawyers, teachers, artists even, if people can't afford the expense of earning a degree? Tuition costs are a lot to ask from a very young adult just getting out of high school. Most companies don't hire kids under 16, which is when most of them are in their sophomore or junior year in high school. When teens do get a job, it's typically paying less than minimum wage, where they rely on tips. Many teens have a limited amount of hours they can work because of school, activities, sports, and family commitments. The average senior has a savings of $1,000 to $5,000 according to College Savings Foundation's 2013 Youth Survey. While that's not bad for a young adult, it will hardly touch the total cost of their first year's college tuition. A Trend in Higher Education article from collegeboard.com stated, for the nation as a whole, average and state tuition and fee costs are $8,893 for a 4-year school and $3,264 for a 2-year public institution. These costs don't include the cost of room and board, other living expenses. Even with an average savings of $1,000 to $5,000, you're left with a large portion of tuition to cover. The most common ways to cover costs are taking out student loans and working while attending college. Working as a full-time college student raises money issues of its own. Even for those wanting to go to college later in life and maybe trying to build a savings for that future college, there should be a system in place that can help them. It seems to me that the supposed greatest country in the world can figure out a better plan for this huge and growing problem. If college costs were reduced, it would help the economy and benefit society. While in college, students would fuel the economy by paying for housing, living costs, and spending money in town colleges are located. After college, when they're able to find good paying jobs, they would be spending on housing, basic living, and maybe luxury items like cars and vacations. Instead of most of their salary going to repay college debt with high interest rates, it would go towards savings, or maybe helping fund an initiative, business, or organization. The Huffington Post said, debt is also an enormous drag on the economy. We are currently experiencing a student debt crisis of vast proportions, and it's getting worse. There's a lot of loans, grants, and scholarships available to students. However, the strict criteria and amount of people applying for them means slim to no chance of getting them. Financial aid packages are available to an extent, but because they're primarily based on parental income, lots of people are left with getting private student loans with the parent as a cosigner. Many parents don't even qualify as cosigners. Parents that do qualify are then tied into that loan until it's paid off. Interest rates for student loans are just as high as many times as credit cards, which means by the time you're done paying off your college debt, you've paid 3 to 4 times the actual cost of going to college. The average middle-class student and family seems to suffer the most. Middle-class families make too much money to allow the student to qualify for any financial aid, and yet they don't make enough money, they can just throw out extra money for tuition and living expenses. That leaves the college-bound student with few options for financial help. While those student loan interest rates are high, the desire to have a college degree is higher in a lot of people, which accounts for our nation's rising debt. It's an ugly cycle of debt, and yet if a person wants a career that requires a college degree, what are their choices? According to the Business Insider, student debt in America hit over $1 trillion in 2012. Not to mention that America is one of the most expensive countries if you're attending college here. The Huffington Post adds if public colleges and universities were to be made available to qualified students without charging tuition, the total cost would be an estimated $62.6 billion. And as Richard Long notes, approximately $69 billion is spent each year on government aid to students. What? $7 billion more is spent on government aid to students than the total cost of college. How can that be? Who is getting this money? The Atlantic newspaper says what the federal government spent on its various student aid last year, it could have covered the tuition bill of every student at every public college in the country. Europe, Australia, and Asia offer free college. Gabrielle Heinen-Kajic from ThinkProgress.org reported, compared to American students, Germans barely had to pay for college even before tuition fees were abolished. College is now free throughout the country, even for international students. We got rid of tuition fees because we don't want high education that depends on the wealth of parents. We can learn a lot from these countries. I realize that in life you can't get something for nothing, and I'm not asking for a free ride. As we all know, we'll soon come to know, college isn't easy, and it will take a lot of hard work. But I don't think it's okay to start an adult life with $40,000 plus in debt before you even walk off the stage with your diploma. How is a person or family expected to survive and do well with most of their salary is paying off their student debt? Wouldn't it be great to go to college for free, or at least without a huge debt? Knowing that you can afford to travel, buy a home, contribute to the community, and save for your future? Just knowing you earned an education, had experiences, and hopefully landed a great job should be all you're left with when college is done.